All right, so senior level software engineer interviews, I mean, they can be a bit like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? There's just so much to know.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're testing you on every corner of computer science all at once.
Totally. But you know what we're going to do today? We're going to try to take a deep dive into one of those core Java concepts that can trip people up.
Yeah, you got it.
And that is the idea of call by value.
Oh, call by value. Yeah, this one, it seems simple on the surface, but then there's all these nuances that you really got to get if you want to write good code.
Yeah, and
And
if you want to.
yeah, and if you want to ace those interviews.
Absolutely, especially at the senior level.
Oh, for sure.
So let's set the scene here, all right? Imagine you're working on this big, multi-threaded application. Maybe it's dealing with, customer account info, something that's really important, and you've got this method, and it's supposed to be updating this shared object. But things start getting weird. Like you're seeing inconsistencies. The data is not behaving the way you expect it to.
Yeah, and this kind of problem, it often comes down to not fully understanding how call by value works in Java. You see, when you pass an object to a method, you're not actually sending a copy of the object itself. What you're doing is you're giving the method like a copy of the address where that object lives in memory.
So it's kind of like if I gave you a copy of my house key,
Exactly.
you could use it to go to my house. You could, maybe rearrange the furniture or something.
Right.
But you couldn't go and make a new key and replace my original one.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
So in this case, you've got the key to the object. You can mess around with the object itself, but you can't replace the original object reference.
Yeah, and that's where things can get a bit hairy, especially when you start talking about multi-threaded applications, because now you could have multiple threads all with copies of that same key, right?
Right.
They can all access and potentially modify the same object at the same time.
Oh, that's where it gets messy.
Yeah, and that's how you end up with, data corruption and just totally unpredictable behavior.
Right. So and I've had people say, that Java uses call by reference when it comes to objects because, you can change those objects inside a method. So why do people say that?
Yeah, that's a super common misconception, and it's easy to see why people get confused. But let me give you an example. Let's say you have a method that tries to completely replace an object, right? Not just change something inside it. Even if you assign a brand new object to that method's parameter, the original reference outside that method, it's not going to change.
Right.
Java is strictly call by value, even when it comes to objects.
Interesting. So how does all of this tie into like actual interview scenarios? I mean, I can imagine interviewers love to throw tricky questions at you about this stuff to see if you really understand it at a deep level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They'll give you like a snippet of code, maybe with some nested method calls, and they'll be like, all right, what's the output going to be? And you have to really understand how those references are being copied and passed around to get it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it really shows them that you're not just, someone who's memorized a definition.
Right.
You actually understand how this works in practice.
Exactly. Yeah, it shows that you can think critically and you can reason about how this concept affects the code you write in the real world.
So for all those folks out there who are, prepping for these tough senior level interviews,
Yeah.
what's like the best way to really solidify their understanding of call by value and all its implications?
Honestly, the best thing you can do is don't just try to memorize definitions. Write some code experiment. Test out your assumptions. Try passing objects to methods. Try modifying them and see what happens to those original references. Play around with immutable objects and compare how they behave.
Yeah.
The more you practice and actually see these concepts in action, the more confident you'll become.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And, I think it really highlights that, learning these concepts, it's not just about acing the interview. It's about becoming a better developer. Understanding these core principles makes you a more insightful and a more effective programmer in the long run.
Couldn't agree more.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.